So this is going to sound like one of those weird parts of history that you may have not heard of, but I'm glad that this person commented. So during Prohibition, alcohol was illegal, but people still wanted alcohol, so they got really creative. One of the popular substitutes was this Jamaican ginger extract, and people called it Jake. It was technically sold as a medicine, but the alcohol content was like 60 to 80%. So it was very alcoholic, and people would drink it because it was a medicine, so it got them around the prohibition laws. And then things started to go wrong. So manufacturers, they started to add chemicals to get the product to pass government purity tests. And that chemical started to damage their nerves in people's legs, and it caused their bodies to kind of go haywire, and they got sick. They couldn't lift their feet properly, their walking became stiff and jerky, and it looked like they were kind of marching or dragging their legs, and it was called Jake leg. So this is where Appalachia comes in. It was an epidemic that affected the poor and working class communities the most, especially in really rural areas where cheaper substitutes for alcohol spread really quickly. Many of those areas were in the South in Appalachia. And what did outsiders see when they came into Appalachia? They saw large numbers of poor people in Appalachia with unusual walking patterns, and it was connected to drinking questionable alcohol. And that contributed to the hillbilly stereotype, as well as many, many other things. Of outsiders seeing industrial negligence and improper use of products and regulation of products that people were drinking, it was labeled as these backward mountain people who are drinking alcohol and poisoning themselves. So yes, it did reinforce the hillbilly stereotype that Appalachians were uneducated, reckless, and defined by alcohol use. And it wasn't just that. That came, during the Prohibition era. So the hillbilly stereotype existed since the 1800s. So it's a very old, the origins of that word and the stereotype, they're very old, and much history that contributed to it. But yes, I'm glad that you commented, because it really is such an interesting part of history. And there's more to it. There was like eugenics laws in the 1920s through the 1970s that contributed to it, which was like where the government and scientists decided who could reproduce and who couldn't. And I'll talk about that in another post, because somebody else had a comment and I wanted to reply to it. Thanks for watching.